in the guise or disguise of an English professor. It says something to us. The second point is, which he also develops in the introduction of his book, is his personal situation. He is coming from academia and acting as a full-blown politician, which is, again, I think, and I'm selfish in that, but that's a good kind of combination, because when I made the same step much longer before than him, and I was a young scholar at that time. It was really very painful. But this was when I really understood the subject which I was teaching before. I was teaching constitutional law and jurisprudence and other things in the university, but for the first time, when I was really doing it in the transition process, when we were preparing the new Hungarian system after the transition in 1990, I could understand how institutions really work. And that was when I really realized, after reading scholarly works on the same subject, how irrelevant they are. Because they miss some of the points which we, who are making the decisions, have taken. And I'm not questioning that this is not a legitimate point of view, or neither of us. But for me, in my decisions, this kind of combination of knowing systems, knowing structures, even in a pure form, on one hand, and on the other hand, to applying it to the political reality, or using it, is that maybe that's the better word, that's a good experience. And this is why this book is so relevant. It speaks about what we are having here in the European Parliament. And I don't want to be too long, but just make one or two points on this. The first is he's speaking about black swans in the book. Black swan is an event which is not predicted, and if it happens, then it destroys the assumptions about the things. I would like to criticize and question this point, if I may, because, for instance, the crisis of the European Union, which happened a few years ago, starting this on economic grounds, didn't cause, it was a black swan, because not many people have been foreseeing it, but it didn't destroy, or didn't end it to destroy the basic assumptions around it. People also in this institution or somewhere else in the European Union are still behaving in a fictional sense that everything is like it was before and it doesn't need to change. And I don't think it's true. And that's not criticism of him, because he doesn't say that it doesn't need to be changed, but the criticism that sometimes black swans are not really causing the result which we are presuming in that, because this world hasn't collapsed for good or bad. I'm not here to judge that, but maybe it's a subject of a longer lecture there. But definitely something which should be taken into consideration. Why some mental, intellectual structures are surviving the world where they are still fitting, and this is exactly the subject which Gyorgy is speaking about. The other point is something about the Eurocentrism and about I would like to say it rather that the Western exceptionalism on universalism, which Gyorgy is writing much about this, which is presuming that what we have been reaching as the most progressive thing in politics, and that we see here in the European Parliament very often, we demand already from everyone. Like the fights in the 60s for the equality of black people in the United States, which was obviously, from seeing back from this point of view, from our point of view, or even our contemporary point of view in the 60s, was something racist, unacceptable, and a violation of basic human dignity. And now the same people are demanding the same about nations who didn't get through of the same kind of historical experience as they did. So they call their particular experience that they are now in 2011 and question everyone else who is not at that level of, as they say, the progressive point of view, which is denial and which is an exceptionalism, which I think is a big mistake of our time. if we are using that as a universal judgment for other, and not just a big mistake from a political point of view, but if we go back to the academia, it blocks our understanding what is really happening in the world. Because if your diagnosis is bad, if you are not ready to acknowledge several points which are needed, then you cannot find the right way and you are giving the wrong answers. This book, however, gives us a very good and very correct diagnosis of a double hermeneutics from Gyuri's point of view, a very something which I really started to read as, yes, another interesting book, but I think everyone should read it because it's more than another interesting book. It's really about the heart what we are doing here in the European Parliament, and the heart what is happening in the world today on them very diverging subjects, but in the same sense about the same thing. And that's about that